who was 13 years older than me, who became a diagnosed schizophrenic when she was 16 years old. So I grew up with a mother who didn't speak English, who had a third-grade education, a sister that was schizophrenic, and a father who drank too much. That's my story. Everybody has a story. Everybody has something that they've had to come through, over, around, dig through, crawl through, whatever. What you do with that information is what defines your life. Your story does not define your life. So you can be the victim of anything. And it can be this big, or it can be this big. But everybody has a story. And for me, the ability to be resilient, the ability to move beyond the circumstances that you come from, defines who you become as a woman, defines how you become a leader, defines the quality of your life. I do a blog, and one of the things I wrote the other day was choose happiness. Right? We all want to be a vice president, or a senior director, or an executive, or what. Whoever says, I really like to be happy. Like, happy would be good. And you can be happy at those things, but having a quality to your life, really being comfortable in your own skin, looking at yourself and saying, you know what, today was pretty good. Today didn't totally suck. That was awesome. Right? It's the haves and the have-nots that we live in. You know those people that no matter what is going on in their life, this is their energy. I was in traffic for 15 minutes. Yeah. Feel my pain? And then there's people who get up every day with a child that's sick, financial challenges, someone in their life is dying, and they get up and they show up. That's the resilient person. Resilience is not about not having the circumstance, it's what you do when you have it. So, somewhere in my life, and I don't know when it happened, I started using, I'm going to say I was probably 6. I started using food as a coping mechanism. So, I didn't want to think about stuff, I'd eat a cookie, or I'd eat a bag of cookies. And I used food, and still do to some degree, as a way of numbing out from whatever the experience was that now, you're not conscious of that when you're a kid. I don't want to feel this, I'm going to eat a cookie. What you feel is, a cookie would taste really good. And then that feeling of being full and being overfull and overstuffed. At some point along the way, my hunger mechanism broke. My ability to determine when I was full became broken. And my ability to stop eating became broken. So for years, I lived as an obese woman. And I'm not talking when people go, well, my thighs are a little heavy. I'm talking 350 pounds. That's real morbid obesity. That's a seatbelt extender to get on a plane. That's a heart attack waiting to happen. That is self-esteem in the crapper. That is size 4X, 5X. That is the inability to sit in a chair without worrying that it's going to break. That was my existence. And that woman was a vice president. That woman had a big job. That woman, many of you, those of you who know me have heard me say this, at 350 pounds, I was the best dressed fat woman you have ever seen. And I will say to you, my motto has been, if you can't hide it, decorate it. And I rocked it out. I had the big hair, I had the long jackets, I had the heels. I'm getting an amen from this table. But I showed up. At 350 pounds, boy, I walked in and I owned the joint. I was in a heel, the hair looked good, the nails were done, and inside I was dying. I mean that literally, and I mean that figuratively. because the shame and the embarrassment that I felt, the ridicule of society, let me tell you, there is nothing that you can say to me that I haven't said to myself, that I haven't, you're the fattest woman in the room, oh my God, you're sloppy, you're this, all of those things, because when you are overweight, in my world, you are fat and sloppy. People make decisions about me the minute they saw me. You know, it's interesting, because people have said to me, I do a lot of diversity speeches, and people say, you know, are you black? And I've had people say to me, do you have someone black in your family? And I'll say, why? They go, because you are telling my story. Are you Hispanic? Are you Asian? And I'm like, I'm different. And anytime we're different, and sometimes it's just being a woman, you have a shared experience of being different. It's not exactly the same. It is a shared experience. And my experience was, I was made fun of, I was left out of, I was ridiculed, I was embarrassed, I had things thrown at me. I would walk down the street and have people throw cans out of cars at me as I was walking, as this woman called, hey, fat ass. I went to a club. I'll never forget this. I grew up here, so every time I come to San Diego, I have like this psychic energy happening. But I grew up in San Diego, and all my friends were beach bunnies. They were thin and blonde and pretty. Now, they really weren't, but that's what I think they were, because they weren't me. And I remember walking out of a nightclub, and I was embarrassed to go in, and it was probably 98 degrees, and I had on long black sleeves, and a long, you know, everything was covered, flat shoes, and I walked in, and I remember skulking to the back with my friends, and they were all dancing and having a good time, and as I said, I'm gonna go now. And as I walked out of the club, never forget this, I walked out of the club, and there was a line of people to get in, and they were all thin and beautiful, and they really weren't, but that's what I saw. And I heard a guy say, well, now that she's leaving, they'll let 5 of us in. And I had to walk past this line of people. And I could feel, right? Face got hot, my chest was flushed, and I couldn't walk any faster than I was walking, and that line started to laugh. So as I passed them, it was this sort of rolling cascade of laughter, right? And I went home, and I stood in front of the refrigerator, and I ate everything that wasn't nailed down, crying. I have been that woman. And the negative self-talk, and that shame and that fear, what I did was I hid in the front of the room. So I figured out somewhere along the line I was funny. And funny people got attention. And I used my humor to help people notice me and hide in the front of the room. Now, sometimes things are a blessing and a curse. My humor has been both to me, but it helped me it became a survival mechanism for me as I moved through my life. I got a job working retail when I was 19 years old, and I want to tell you about my exciting career path and why I'm a human resource executive, because my supervisor said, anybody here read the employee handbook? And I said, I did. He goes, okay, you're in HR. That's how I started my career. So for those of you who think I had a master plan, and I only read the handbook because I went to Catholic school, and if somebody handed you something, you read it, because it was fun, right? Because Sister Cordula was going to come and put a wailing on you if you didn't read it. Yeah. So my whole career path is a series of happy accidents. In fact, when Jane Lynch from Glee, and she's, I don't know, y'all know who Jane Lynch is, right? She just published a book called Happy Accidents, and I thought, oh, she stole my title. But my life in some ways is a series of happy accidents, but my life has also been about shedding all of the things that have kept me from being my best self. One of my favorite expressions in the whole world is to defy gravity. And those of you who have seen the show Wicked or heard the show Wicked, it's my absolute ultimate favorite Broadway show. If you haven't, and I would encourage you, if you have not heard or seen anything about this show, look it up. There's a song called Defying Gravity. Watch it on YouTube. But the story of Wicked, it's sort of the Wizard of Oz turned on its head. Why is the witch green? Is she really wicked? And it's the story about Galinda, who is the good witch, and Elphaba, who is the Green Witch, who's theoretically bad. And it's a story of their friendship, but it's a story of their journey about finding what their own power is. And Elphaba believes that the only way she's ever going to get power is if she meets the wizard. There's something outside of herself. If this thing happens, if I lose weight, if I get married, if I have a child, if whatever your list, every woman here has something on her list. If that thing happened, if this thing hadn't happened, that defines who you are. And Elphaba truly believes that the only way that she can be powerful is if the wizard makes her not be who she is. It's really that story. And the song about defying gravity was so powerful to me that when I saw it, it really became my motto. And anyone who's known me, I do speeches called Defy Gravity. I led a breast cancer walk team called Team Defy Gravity. It's very influential to me. But I believe gravity is anything invisible that holds you down. Anything invisible that holds you down. What is your gravity? What is the thing for you to overcome? Maybe it's a relationship. It may not be inside of you. It may be a decision that you made. I married a really bad guy. I mean a really bad guy. I wasn't married. I was in my early 40s. I was overweight. I'd done a little dating, but believe me, nobody's rushing to my door. And you know, I always got that, oh, Grace, you're intimidating. Oh, Grace, you're just too smart. I'm like, no, I'm just real single. really single. And I wanted to be like all the other girls, and all the other girls were getting married and having kids. And I have to tell you, I never had the biological clock thing. Like, I never, ever wanted to be a mom. I love kids, but I never said, oh, I want to be a mom.